individual makeup products that just stacked together revolutionized my travel makeup bag. Hey there, friends. Today I have an exciting little travel product that I've been using and loving for over a year now, and it's about time that I tell you about it. This adorable little stack has revolutionized my travel makeup bag. So today I'm going to be doing a comprehensive review of the Subtl Stak 2.0, which is the new version, and comparing to the Subtl Stak 1.0. I'm going to be comparing the two, letting you know if it's worth the upgrade if you already have this version. Spoiler, I really do love them, so if all you want to know is whether or not I think they're worth it, then I guess you can leave now, because I'll just tell you now, I love them, I think they're worth it. But if you want to know more in depth about both of these adorable little makeup stacks, aren't they cute? They're so cute. Yeah, if you want to know more about these, then just keep watching. So to get the disclaimers out of the way, I purchased both of these stacks myself. Subtl did not contact me in any way or send me these products. I just saw them somewhere on Instagram, decided I thought they looked handy, and I ordered them. And I'm really glad I did. So if you haven't already guessed, the Subtl Stak is made up of these layers, and they're all individual makeup products that just stack together in this handy little form factor. And so just with these products, you can do a full face. For everybody who wears makeup, we know how bulky it is to pack a full face worth of products. It's just huge. To be able to do basically a full face with just this tiny little form factor has revolutionized my makeup game. If you like these types of videos, please subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future rants, rambles, or recommendations. Now let's get stacking. So I'll just quickly go over what I have in my 1.0 stack, even though this one is not available for purchase anymore. So I purchased this in February of 2023, and I got a shine control powder, a highlighter in the shade Champagne, which was the only shade available at the time, an eyeshadow duo in Dune, 2 bronzers, one in Chai and one in Latte, 3 lip and cheek in the colors Mauve, Dusty Rose, and Plum, and 3 concealers. One of them is in the shade Morningside, and it's a darker shade. This one I intended to use as a cream bronzer, and I also ordered 2 skin tone shades for me in Arlington and Homestead. So long story short, I liked most of the products, but the concealers were always a little bit of a sticking point for me. I'm talking more about the skin tone concealer, so Arlington and Homestead. For me, I thought they performed more like a tinted moisturizer than they did a concealer. I did hear that they were formulated with dry skin in mind, which I do not have. I am quite oily. So the texture is very thin and almost greasy, especially when it mixed with my skin. And so they just wouldn't stay in place. I would put them on and the coverage was kind of non-existent. It wouldn't build and it would just slip and slide everywhere. And so I was not a fan of those. But that was the only product that I really didn't like. The best thing that those concealers could do for me was, like, if I wanted to tone down an area of redness, then it would help with that. But if you have anything like a pimple you want to conceal or dark circles, it really didn't do anything. So maybe they would work for some people, but they definitely didn't work for me and my oily skin. That doesn't mean it's a bad product, but I guess for me it was a pretty bad concealer. Another thing to note is that I didn't purchase this makeup stack with the intention that it would replace my entire makeup bag. I bought this for easy days, for traveling, for days when I just wanted to do the bare minimum, but I fully intended to keep all of my glam stuff for when I wanted to feel more glam. This is kind of off topic, but I just want to rant a little bit, because when I was looking into purchasing the stack the first time, I was looking for reviews, obviously, and I came across a lot of stupid reviews, honestly. Reviews that I felt like gave the product a bad review because they fundamentally misunderstood or were just ignorant of what the intention of this product is. I think it's common sense that you're not going to get like a James Charles style makeup look out of this stack. Like, it's just common sense. But people are like, oh no, it looks so subtle. I'm like, that's their name. What do you expect? So anyway, that just annoyed me. And so I went into this stack knowing exactly what I was getting myself into, and so that probably informed my final opinion on a lot of the products. Minus the concealers though, because the concealers honestly just didn't work for my skin. So moving on to the Stak 2.0, which is the stack that is available for purchase to this day. So with this one, I purchased a concealer. I have the shade 005C, which I asked them and they said that one is going to be the equivalent to Arlington. So that is what I got. I also have lip and cheek in the shade Hibiscus Highway, which is a new shade. A shine control powder, bronzer in the new shade called Leche, and a powder blush, which was my first time trying a powder blush because I didn't get that in the original stack, and a powder highlighter. The powder highlighter is in the shade Champagne, and in this stack, the powder highlighter is also called Champagne, but they say the powder highlighter was reformulated for this update, and I can say it is. The Champagne highlighter in the Stak 2.0 is definitely different from the original. So when I ordered my Stak 2.0, I also ordered a powder refill just because I do use a lot of powder and I wanted to see how the refills were shipping. So let's talk about the individual products because it's going on your face, so you want to know if it looks good. So let's start with my favorite product, which is by far the cream lip and cheek. I have 3 of the original formula in the shades Mauve, Dusty Rose, and Plum, and one of the new formula in Hibiscus Highway. I've never really been a cream blush user, and so this is the first time I've actually tried to use a cream blush to the best of its abilities. So I haven't honestly tried very many cream blushes, so I don't know really what is a good one or a bad one. But I do like these because the texture is quite thin, and so they're really just easy to tap onto your cheeks and they're easy to control. I guess I imagined some cream blushes being kind of dry and then like sticking to your foundation or sticking there and then being really difficult to blend. These don't do that. They're very easy to blend with your finger or with a brush. The biggest thing for me is that they don't stain, but they do last. Like once I put it on my cheeks and set it with the powder, it does last all day. Like the color doesn't disappear. But when I do want to wash it off, or even when I'm still blending it, the color isn't like stained on my cheeks. So even if I make a mistake or apply too much, I can always fix it. Since this is a lip and cheek, you want it to look good on your lips too, right? It doesn't stay on your lips. Like it has really no staining power, so it doesn't last on your lips very long. But I guess for me, that was okay. I have separate lipsticks. I would rather it work as a good blush. And to be honest, I don't really mind because none of the colors that I have really look very good on my lips anyway. The mauve color just kind of looks a little bit gray on me. It's too pink, and then the Dusty Rose looks too orange. The Plum is too plum, and the Hibiscus Highway is too pink. So I can get a decent color by mixing the colors, but none of the colors really are the best lipstick shade for me anyway. So usually what I'll do is if I want to finish the look in the moment, I'll just like use a couple of colors and blend it. And even when I'm just on the go, I wouldn't probably want to be like sticking my finger in it. So I just use a regular lipstick and that's fine for me. The bronzer was one of the biggest surprises of all of the products. I have the shades Chai, which is now discontinued, and Latte in the old formula, and I have the shade Leche in the new formula. I didn't hear anything about these bronzers being reformulated, just that they had kind of switched up the shades, because one of the complaints before was I think there was no really light shade and Chai was the lightest and it was very similar to Latte. So they just switched out the shades. I don't know if this formula was developed specifically to play nice with the lip and cheek, but it really does. For some reason, I was imagining that the bronzer would be kind of dry and patchy. I don't know why. I had no reason to think that, but I was just imagining it was going to be difficult to blend. It would maybe stick to the lip and cheek. It doesn't. It blends out incredibly well. I mean, it's a great bronzer. I don't know what much else to say about it. And because they're so blendable, they make a really great crease shade for your eyes. So that's just part of my usual routine with these. For highlighter, I have the Champagne 1.0 and 2.0. The powder Champagne highlighter is one thing that Subtl mentioned was reformulated with the new launch. And I can definitely tell a difference between the original formula and the newer formula. One of the complaints I had about the original formula is that it was just a little bit too gold. I just don't really like gold highlighters, and even though it looks like a perfect champagne in the pan, when I put it on, it kind of gave a little bit of a warm gold sheen, and that just wasn't really my favorite. The new champagne highlighter is pretty much exactly what I would want. It's much more neutral toned. The kind of gold sheen is gone, and it just shows up on your skin looking a lot more of a neutral champagne rather than a gold champagne, and so I think it's a great upgrade. The only downside though is that I noticed the powder is a lot softer. I am not rough with my Stak in any way. I mean, it did travel around Europe with me, but I was very careful with it. I kept it in my bulletproof backpack. It was very safe, and still my highlighter did crack. I was able to like put some alcohol on it and like press it back down, so it's fine, but it is quite a soft powder, and it is the softest. Like, it's noticeably softer than any of the other powder products, so be careful with the highlighter. But besides that, like, it gives a really beautiful sheen, and I still really like it. The shine control powder, like the bronzer, is another one that I didn't have like super high expectations for, but it actually really did surprise me. For some reason, I imagined this one being impossible to pick up with the brush. I don't know why. I was just, I guess, like the bronzer, thinking that it was just gonna be really hard and dry, and I would have to like really scrub at it to pick up the product. But that's not the case at all. Not to say that it's really powdery. I would say it's in the middle. Like, you kind of just dab your brush in it, and powder does kick up a little bit, but I feel like it's just enough. In terms of shine control, it holds its own. I have a pretty oily T-zone, and so I don't think it's really fair to blame any powder for breaking down in my T-zone. It's just kind of how it is. I have an oily forehead. So yeah, I think it works well as a shine control powder. So about the concealers, I have the shades Homestead, Arlington, and Morningside in the older formula, and in the new formula, I have the shade 005C. I purchased Morningside with the intent of it being like a cream bronzer, and for that, the formula does actually work pretty well. Since the formula is pretty like light and slippy, it does blend really well as a cream bronzer, so I think that was a good decision. However, the same formula really doesn't work very well as like a traditional concealer for the things that you would want concealer for. So the shades Arlington and Homestead, I purchased to, you know, put under my eyes, cover up blemishes, the normal things for concealer, and it doesn't do that, honestly. The formula, at least on me, is quite greasy, and it's very light and thin, and so it doesn't want to stick in any particular place. Like, it likes to blend out, which, like I said, is great for the bronzer if you're going to use it as that, but for a concealer you kind of want it to like stick in a spot and cover things, and it really didn't do that. Yeah, I mean, wasn't really a fan of those concealers. And so with the new Stak, they mentioned that they were going to be upgrading the concealer, and so I was very excited about that. So I got the new concealer, and I can say it's the polar opposite of what the old concealer was. They heard all of the complaints about the old concealer, and they really took it in the other direction. The thing is, they took it a little too far. Like, the original concealer was very, very thin and slippy. This one is quite dry. It's pretty dry and firm in the pan, and so you really have to warm it up with your finger in order to get product off, and it's quite thick and like grippy. So you put it on your face, and if you're trying to stick it to a pimple or to like under eye darkness, it will stay there. If you're trying to cover things, this concealer will conceal things. But on the other hand, if your goal with the concealer is to replace a foundation and just be able to like blend it around so that you don't have to wear foundation, this concealer is a little bit tough for that. It doesn't really like to blend like that. It's really more meant for spot concealing smaller areas, and it doesn't want to like blend all over the place. For me, I kind of do like that because I get the occasional pimple that I really just want to spot cover. So I enjoy having a concealer that does that. If I want like overall coverage, I have a stick foundation for that. I like the new concealer. It is very, very different from the original. So if you were one of those people that didn't like the original, or the original just didn't work for you, then give this one a try. You might like it, but as you can probably guess, I definitely wouldn't purchase it to be a cream bronzer. It's just too dry. So hopefully in the future, Subtl will come out with a dedicated cream bronzer. So let's talk about the differences between the Stak 1.0 and 2.0, and let's compare. So this is the size difference between the Stak 1.0 and 2.0. As you can see, there is quite a significant difference in diameter. I was drawn to the original because of how compact it is. I actually have quite a few products, too many here, but the original Stak that I saw was, I think, like 5 layers tall, and I just saw this and I was like, that looks incredible for travel. There's no way I would find anything smaller and more perfect than that. So to be honest, I guess I was a little bit disappointed to see that it had grown significantly, at least by a centimeter. I mean, it's still quite compact. It's way more compact than having all of these products in their own separate compacts, but I have to say it did lose a little bit. Like, this is something that I have to make space for. Not a ton of space, but this thing, it was just that perfect size that I could pretty much put it anywhere. I would never have to clear a space to put this in there. Like, it would just fit. This one, I do have to clear a little bit of space and make sure that, you know, it's gonna fit. So the reasons that were mentioned for why they made it larger was, number one, people wanted more product. I don't know. I mean, I think the intention of this is for travel, and how much makeup product do you actually need to travel with? So I think that request was a little bit missing the point of the product. Number two, people wanted a mirror included. And in the original form factor, a mirror in that cap would have been just ridiculously tiny. So they had to increase the diameter in order for a usable mirror to fit in the lid. The mirror is usable. I have used it in a pinch. It's good if you have something in your eye and you just need a mirror. I will always seek out a larger mirror, and using this mirror is really my last resort. So it's there. Number three, people wanted it to be refillable. So now with the new design, you're able to pop the pans out and just purchase the refills, which is good. I like that idea. The refills are a little bit cheaper than buying the whole new Stak layer, so that's good. The original Staks are not technically refillable, but I mean, if you're willing to DIY it, this is a little bit of my foundation stick. I removed the pan of one of the concealers that I really just didn't like, and I refilled the container with some of my foundation stick. So clearly they are refillable, just you have to DIY it a little bit. I think that's the better way anyway though. People also wanted a built-in brush, which is another thing that would have been unusably teeny in the old diameter. Obviously, the color is quite a change. I really like the new color. I think it's so pretty and I love looking at it. This colorway is okay. While I like the look of the ombre, it makes it so that you can't really customize the order of your products without messing up the ombre. That wasn't great, but I just kind of dealt with it and it wasn't a huge deal. So the main improvements with the 2.0 that actually matter, I think, are the mirror, which there it is. It's cute. I do like it. And the brush. So in this base, there is this little brush. Clearly you can see that I have used it. It's actually a good brush. Like, I think I saw that the brush was gonna be there and I was like, no way. Like, I am going to chuck that immediately, just like I chucked that sponge, and I'm gonna like melt the lipstick in the base because I'm not using those little crappy brushes. But this brush, it's actually very good. I was so surprised. It's quite thick. Like, it's not one of those paper thin brushes. It's quite fluffy. So what I'll do with it is I'll pick up the product and kind of like make a line and then blend upwards. And it does a really good job of blending. I was just so surprised. We've all encountered brushes that come with products. They're scratchy and they don't hold the product and they just don't blend things well. This is not one of those brushes. It actually is a quality brush. So kudos to them for actually making a good brush, putting effort into creating something that people would actually use instead of putting in a throwaway product just so they can say that it's there. So with all that being said, is it worth the increase in size? For me, I don't know. Like, I mean, it is what it is. If you have not purchased the original Stak, then this is what you will be able to purchase. I appreciate the improvements now that they're there, but if I had the choice to shrink it back down to this original size, I would probably go back to this original size, because the main improvements for me for the 2.0 are the mirror and the brush. And since there are other things besides the stack that I would be carrying in terms of makeup anyway, things like an eyeshadow brush and a mascara, a brow gel, a few other things. So it's not like I would ever just be carrying the makeup stack. I think I would rather have it go back to this size, not have the mirror or the brush, because those are things that I would find somewhere else anyway. So I'm happy with the amount of products that I have in my 2.0 stack, and I don't want to make it any taller. I mean, like I was saying before, it's already big enough that I need to clear a space in my toiletry bag to pack it. So to make it any bigger would really start defeating the purpose for me. And I feel like this is just the perfect amount of products to liven up my face, to add some color, but without feeling like I need to use all of the products to do a full face. This can add just a little bit of color so I look a little bit more awake, but I don't have to like go all out. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. You see a big difference just by adding a little bit of color onto your cheeks and eyes and lips. And so after a while, you start to see that you don't need like a full face of makeup every day to feel put together. So my plan is to keep this stack as like my everyday basics, bare minimum kind of makeup. As time goes on and I start using up the products, I'll be refilling each of these containers with just other products that I want to use. And so this stack will serve as my like extra colors stack. So I can pack this for just the everyday bare minimum basic, and then I'll pack extras. So just like if I want a little different colored eyeshadow, I'll probably just stick it in there. I have tried repressing powders. It didn't go well. So I don't really trust my repressing of powder skills. So I'm thinking as I use up the powders, I'm just going to pop out the pans and refill by melting cream products into the containers. I think I showed already, but this is just a little bit of a Wet n Wild foundation stick that I use, and I just kind of melted it in there pretty messily. It doesn't look great, I know, but it works. It doesn't fall out. So yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing for all of these as I run out of the product. So all in all, would I recommend purchasing a stack? Yeah, I do. If you're on the go, even just a little bit, having all of the basics in this stack is so freeing. I'm not even necessarily on the go all the time, but I keep these together in my little makeup bag, and so I just do my makeup around the house. Instead of having to come and sit down at the desk where I keep all of my full-size makeup, I can just grab my little makeup bag and do my makeup by a window or on the couch or in bed. It's just peak cozy vibes. So buy the stack. Hopefully you like the products. Even if you don't fall in love with any of the specific products, I think the customization options with this just far outweigh the risk of maybe not being in love with any particular product. So buy the stack. Hopefully you like the products. If you don't love them, you'll probably still find uses for them. Use them up and then refill to your heart's content. That's my long-term plan. Even with the pans in here, I probably will end up refilling them. I'll probably purchase some new pans from Subtl anyway of the products that I like, but I'll also be melting my own products and refilling the pans. So I have no regrets. I think it's just endlessly versatile and customizable, and honestly, as of right now, I don't know of anything that is quite like this on the market. I think I've seen like those Kaja stackable things, but they don't include everything. I think I've seen just little compacts that are either 3 eyeshadows or a blush, bronzer, and highlighter. So they're not like a full face setup, and they're not really customizable. They just come in pre-made little stacks. There's also the Trini London, which I thought was a joke when I first saw it, and I was in London in a store recently, and I actually got to go and play with some of the products and see how they stack. I still think they're a joke. Like, honestly, no. Like, you would get 6 products and it would be like 8 inches tall. This, I have 6 products here, and even though I'm sitting here complaining about how large this thing has gotten, it's still way smaller than that Trini London. So I think the uniqueness makes this worth it. I also want to say that a lot of the positive things that I had to say in this video took a little while to develop. I wasn't immediately blown away when I received the first stack. I was a little bit lukewarm about everything. I think because I had never used anything like it, there was a little bit of a learning curve for me. And so if you try it and you think you don't like it, just give it a little bit of time. Keep trying to adapt to the products because this is quite a new thing for a lot of people. I think as makeup users, we've really gotten conditioned to feel like we need to cake more on, and more is better, and the more products you use, the prettier you'll be. And that is not the intention. This, it's called subtle. It's meant to, I think, encourage you to use as little as possible in order to just liven yourself up, but not feel like you have to be covered in makeup to be presentable. Another final thought is about the customer service. So I ordered my second stack in a hurry. Like, I was so excited to order it. I was there on launch day and I wanted to place the order before anything sold out. So I quickly made the order and I pressed order. And so I chose a concealer at the time that I thought was going to be the right shade. So this is on a Friday. The next day, it's Saturday, and I was looking at my order and I looked at the concealer shade that I chose and I was like, oh no, that is not going to be the right shade. I sent Subtl a message through their website asking if I could switch out the shade of concealer. And this is on a Saturday afternoon. And I thought, there's no way they're going to answer this. I'll probably get a response on Monday. I hope they see this message. Within 30 minutes, in less than an hour, I got a response saying, no problem, I switched out the concealer, I updated your order. I mean, there really wasn't much more to it than that, except they responded really quickly and it was no problem. They have great customer service. At least their internet customer service was great. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Subtl Beauty Stack. I'm really glad I bought it. I like it. I dare to say I am obsessed with it. I carry it around everywhere. It lives. I look at it on my desk. It goes pretty much everywhere with me. I'm just in love with it. I think it does live up to its promises as long as you understand the intention behind the product and you have common sense. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe if you haven't already and leave a like. And if you or anyone you know owns a Subtl Beauty Stack or is thinking about buying one, please talk to me in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. That's all for today. Thank you for watching and I will see you next time. Bye. Now that I'm